All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fans Union for the fans by the fans. I'm just myself tonight. Another NFL episode, so you guys get another however long of me babbling. So best of luck to everybody listening. Um, just want to talk a little bit about what we got going on the NFL side. Had a really loaded slate of games last week. Some phenomenal football we get to watch. Falcons won, so I'm going to talk about that, which makes every week better, but doesn't is very few and far between. Got some lineup shifts in the NFL quarterback world this week, and just a lot to unveil. So just to let you guys know, we are available on audio now as well as YouTube. So Apple and Spotify listeners, we are available. Make sure you subscribe. I got the link in our bio on both YouTube and on Apple. Follow us on Instagram as well. Any other fun cleaning stuff? We got a new episode, a college episode out yesterday. So make sure you guys tune into that if you want to hear us ramble, because that's what we like to do. But I'm gonna kick this off. Going to talk about some games. Talk about again some shifts this week, some playoff picture looking things. Look at the MVP odds, and also my five teams who I do not want to play if I'm an NFL team. So we're going to start off. So last night, I guess, dang, it's Wednesday night. Sorry, my memory's going bad. The Dolphins, who played the Steelers on Monday night, were on a roll, on a winning streak, came crashing to an end, and Tua was really, really bad, which unfortunately has kind of become part of the course for him this year, despite kind of turning it around. And he ends up being benched today for Quinn Ewers. Any quarterback being benched for Quinn Ewers is just not really anything I expected to hear in the college football vernacular. But nonetheless, in the NFL vernacular. But nonetheless, here we are. Tua, let's see, I don't think he even had 50 passing yards before the third quarter game or fourth quarter game. He kind of unloaded in the fourth quarter, but before then, real struggle. And this team, despite turning things around, has been really not really winning because of him, but despite him. I mean, this is a guy who's most picks in the league with 15. He's bottom three in quarterback rating, 36.7 QBR. So it's been, for a few years, kind of a thing where it's, God, we pay this guy so much money. We're kind of locked into him. And really, that's most likely why he comes back from all those injuries, which obviously we never want to happen, but he did suffer a few, and a lot of people were debating, hey, is this career worth coming back for? And some people say he was getting paid too much money to turn that down. I understand, but nonetheless, the loss takes them out of the playoff hunt. They're officially eliminated. The Steelers lead the north of the AFC now, so they may be able to salvage disappointment, Pittsburgh, that is. But yeah, so Quinn Ewers is going to get the start this week, which I simply cannot even begin to predict how that's going to go. And I'm trying to remember who they played. I thought I had it written down. It is the Bengals. So I mean, there's no defense better to start against before you play the Bucks and the Pats to finish out the season. So maybe Tua gets the reins back. We could be done for the season, but the Bengals, unfortunately, that defense is kind of the best way to make an introduction. So we'll see how that goes. With that, guess we'll jump into the Thursday night game. Let me tell you, there is something about sitting down for a football Sunday, and the Falcons have already won through prior to that on Thursday, beat the Bucks, and it made for a better Sunday. It did. I didn't have to worry about it being ruined by the Falcons because they already made my Thursday. Um, Buccaneers are up 28-14 in the fourth quarter, and somehow the Falcons, who have 19, who had 19 penalties, the most since the Raiders in 2016, and I think it was eighth most all time in a game, somehow win. If you saw Mike Evans return, however, he was very disgruntled after the game. I think he was saying, because the Falcons are down to third and 28. I think it's second and 20. What did it end up? No, it's second and long. Then it goes to second and 28. Whatever it was, third and 28. Then they get 14 yards. And then Kirk on fourth and 14 throws a dime to Silas, who really had kind of dropped a walk-in touchdown, pissed every Falcons fan off. Ends up, being one of the biggest throws of the game and leads to the game-winning touchdown from Zane Gonzalez, which from the Falcons you never thought you would hear this year. A, game-winning. B, a game-winning field goal. to say the least, as time expired. So I'm sitting around, jumping on my couch. I'm looking at all my Christmas decor. It's that time of year. I even had, I still got the Falcons Bud Light cans, special edition, and I call them loser beers because I mean, obviously they've been losing the whole season, but I had that one celebratorily. So, and I don't think that's a word, but nevertheless, Kyle Pitts, I don't know if he redeemed himself per se, because obviously since his first year, there's been a drop in production. They spent a fourth overall pick where Jamar Chase goes right after him, and has been the subject to a lot of scrutiny. But still, has his best game ever: 11 catches, 166 yards, and catches all three of Kirk Cousins' touchdown passes. Welcome back, Kyle Pitts. I don't know what you're going to be next year, but thank you for this game, especially with Drake London being out. Mooney kind of still struggling to get involved with the game plan. But this is the really the best quarterback game I've seen from the Falcons since Kirk last year on Thursday night against this team, the Buccaneers, where he goes for 500 yards. This game, he goes 30 of 44, three touchdowns, 373 yards, which I think led the week in passing amongst quarterbacks. But it was, I mean, at this point, especially with the Falcons not having a draft pick, I just want to see them win as much as I can. I don't care what it does for the future. Raheem, who I still think needs to go, I don't think this win saves him by any means, but especially with the 19 penalties, I think if anything, that's more indicative that that needs to happen. But it's crazy because a lot of the people are saying, he should have been playing over Penix this whole time. Blah 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 blah. It's one of those things where two things can be true, right? Which quarterback do I think, if they're both healthy, is better right now? It's Kirk Cousins, for sure. However, Kirk's performance last year warranted no play time. He was absolutely unplayable. It was a pitiful watch. Trust me. Had a 4 or 5 game stretch where he throws one touchdown and 9 interceptions. And Michael Penix comes, gives his team some juice. That was the move that absolutely should have happened. Ideally, would have been nice if we could have got Penix a little more time on the bench because Kirk was more playable. But this is the best Falcons quarterback play they've had again since that Thursday night game last year. It was kind of again a weird game. It's a close game for most of it. The fourth quarter, the Bucks go up 28-14, and it gets kind of weird. You're thinking, I'm thinking, okay, it's over. I don't even know why I'm watching it. Then the Falcons score a touchdown, and for some reason, with the score, with it being 28-14, go for it on two. I guess they were playing for the win. Still, obviously, don't agree with the decision, but here I'm getting the play-by-play for the game. Yeah, so Falcons go, and then the Falcons answer that with a touchdown again. There's where that doesn't happen. Then Baker throws a pick, leads to another Falcons touchdown. 10 plays, 67-yard drive, killing 5 minutes of clock. Then the Falcons force a punt, and I'm thinking to myself, no, don't get sucked in. Don't get sucked in. It's 28-26 at the time. And they obviously, when they scored that last touchdown, they go for two to tie the game up, as you should. Fails. So now it's 28-26. Falcons drive down the field. Like I talked about, somehow the Bucks defense just turns to Swiss cheese. Falcons end up winning it. They are now 5-9 on the year. And yeah, I mean, what a win for the Falcons, especially for a team, that with the Bucks, the team was going to run away with it. You should have beat week one, and special teams wins this game and it loses you that game. It sucks. But the Bucks, it's an interesting story because Baker was looking maybe like an MVP candidate, maybe a front runner the first few weeks. And once this team really started to, absorb all these injuries, unfortunately just got to a point where they couldn't do anything. And in this game, if you look at the scoreboard stats and you see he's got 200 and I think it was 270 yards, same one, refresh. 277 yards, goes 19-34, 2 tuds and a pick. But it never, like, I always feel like when Baker plays the Falcons, it kind of has that Bryce Young thing where he just makes no wrong decision. This Falcons team is obviously much different, especially defensively. But Baker was not in control at any point of this game. Mike Evans came back, obviously, like I was saying earlier, had a huge game, 6 catches, 132 yards. And they were picking on the undrafted free agent who came off the practice squad, and Kobe Bryant. They were finding him all game, absolutely dominating him because I believe it was Mike Hughes got hurt. AJ Terrell had a really tough game and was a part of the penalties. Which again, I, if you're the Bucks, I don't know if this is overblowing it. However you want to look at it, the Bucks losing this game may be the worst loss any team in the NFL has this year. And it's not just because you lose to the Falcons. It's the NFL. Anybody can beat anybody. But you lose to a Falcons team that you're beating by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and has 19 penalties on the game. Todd Bowles had a press game conference where it was littered with F bombs, clearly not happy. And I mean, this is a guy who's been really spoiled with OC in the past few years, and maybe just doesn't have that luxury this year. He's a defensive coach, obviously. Last year he had Liam Cohen, who is a brilliant offensive mind. Now with the Jags, Trevor Lawrence is rolling. Just had 6 touchdowns. I know it's against the Jets, but had a huge game. And then before then, they had Dave Canales, who is now in Carolina and has Bryce Young playing the best he's ever played. Really, this is a team that was laughable seen at the beginning of the year. 30-0 skunked the Falcons, beat the Falcons at home as well. And now they're looking like, somehow it's, I guess it's just a Carolina thing to have all that momentum and then lose to the Saints as they did this past weekend. If they beat the Saints, because they're both 7-7, Carolina has control of the South if that happens. Now, both those teams, the Bucks and the Panthers, they play twice this year. They each had 3 games remaining. 2 of them are against each other, one being this weekend. And you got to look at it as if the Bucks, if they win, basically, per the playoff picture on NFL.com, if the Bucks win, they have a 57% chance of. Excuse me. If they lose, they have a 57% chance of making the playoff. If the Panthers lose, they have a 6% chance of making. So it goes down drastically. Obviously, this is per analytics. This isn't obvious. A lot can happen. If the Panthers win, they have 43% chance of winning, and if the Bucks win, they have 95 because they owe. I would assume they own the tiebreaker, but could get scary. I don't know what's going to happen, but this Bucks team, the way that they've fallen off a cliff, due to, I would say mainly due to injuries, has really plagued what they're going to be able to do this season. See if I got any more notes on that. It's just if you're this is it is what really pisses me off about being a Falcons fan is because the way the Bucks started off, I'm thinking, oh, they're just going to run away with this division. There's no chance. If the Falcons are any decent this year, they're in that not only in that playoff picture. That team, it's the amazing part of what I've seen in the Falcons is the drop off between the first half of that Bills game, where I was like, this team is going to maybe run the table in the NFC. And what I've seen after is just it's really disappointing, but I think it's more disappointing because of how bad this has always been, kind of the joking conference, both Souths, but especially the NFC South, where it's, a team can win 9 games and win the division. In the NFC West, they're gonna have 3 playoff teams, and all of them have more than 10 wins. Excuse me, more than 9 wins. So it's gonna be tough sledding for the Bucks. You've got to be essentially perfect. If you lose to Carolina, it's gonna get real shaky. It's gonna get real shaky. So we'll have to see what happens there. But yes, so Falcons rise up. We'll predict their game this weekend as well. And I'll see how it goes. So Baltimore at Cincy was what we'll get on to next. Don't really have a ton on this game. My question is really, I've heard a lot of the questions of the future of Joe Burrow, what's going to happen with him. They get their doors blown off 24-0, 2 Lamar Jackson passing touchdowns and a long pick 6. End up sealing the deal for that game. Joe Burrow leads the game with 225 yards. Jamar Chase has 132. But I think most people who follow the football or listening to this, you've probably heard that press conference where he's like, I'm not really having a ton of fun right now. This is having fun is going to dictate my career. And a lot of people are saying, oh, he's too emotional. I think I saw Adam Schefter bring it up. Through the same amount of games, like Andrew Luck, who seemed to be potentially, the next all-time great, ends up leaving because he's tired of getting sacked. Joe Burrow, I think Adam Schefter said, has been sacked like 10 to 15 more times and way less games played at this point. It's been brutal for him. Didn't have a ton of get sacked a ton this game, but I can't imagine the toll that plays on your mental. And I was hoping, just because football's a better place when with Joe Burrow in it, that they can maybe make a playoff push. Not realistically, but was hoping, something crazy could happen. Because I mean, we all want craziness in sports. We want chaos. It's just how the game goes. But that's not what happened, and they're officially out of playoff contention. Baltimore, I, I still think they're going to make the playoffs over Pittsburgh. I know Pittsburgh kind of put the gap because they're eight. Pittsburgh's 8-6 now. Baltimore's 7-7, and we really don't know where this thing's going to go. But they definitely put themselves in a better position with this win. But I've heard a lot of talks of what what would it take to get Burrow out of Cincinnati, and I'm thinking you're not going to have many better situations throwing the ball than throwing to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, who I think Chase is the best receiver in the league. But he's been sacked so much in his career. This defense is terrible. He can, it's almost like watching some of those Peyton Manning's Colts teams where, yeah, I have great numbers, but I have to put up in Peyton Manning. I have great numbers, but I've got to put up 40 a game to win. I mean, that game that they lost earlier this year to Chicago was an atrocity with Joe Flacco. That game, just defensively, they allowed the Bears. I want to actually get this number pulled up real quick. Against the Bears, put up 47 on them, and it was just. I remember everybody on the Bengals side, especially the radio, was kind of losing their mind, and I can't really say I blame them. Let me get this. I just want to look up some numbers real quick because they allowed the Bengals. They allowed, and this is spilled milk, I know. They allowed 47 points to a Bears team who, the Bears, now there's a bit of a gap. So they're fifth in the league in scoring. So I guess not as bad as I thought, but there's a 4 point gap between them and actually about a 5 point gap between them and the Lions. So I guess not as bad as I thought. So I guess that kind of moves my point. But yeah, that was such a catastrophic performance, and they should have won. So really interested to see the future of Joe Burrow. I don't know what it means for him to be happy, what his definition of happiness is, but I really hope we see it because again, I like seeing him on a football field. It's something about him throwing to one of his old college teammates, is kind of, I guess, makes it a little bit better. But I've heard a lot about him going to see another college teammate who's on a team that's struggling this year with Justin Jefferson because we said it before, the Vikings have competent quarterback play this year. They're probably in that 10-win range right now. And instead, they're eliminated from playoff contention. So take a sip of my water. But we'll have to see. I think it'll be really interesting. I think a lot of teams will throw everything they had to get him in Joe Burrow as their quarterback, but it'll be really fun to see him with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison on the side there too. So on next to Kansas City and Chargers, I think this game is going to be more remembered as the game Pat Mahomes tore his ACL, a guy who's pretty much been an Iron Man his whole career. I mean, since he's taken over the starting spot from Alex Smith back in 2017, 2018. Has been in the AFC Championship every year, and he leaves this game. Chiefs lose. They're out of playoff contention. It's crazy to go from you're on the top of the mountain for so long. You're in a Super Bowl or not in the Super Bowl, but you're playing one game away from the Super Bowl 8 years in a row, and now you are missing the playoffs. So this Chiefs team, first, I want to talk more about Pat. He was kind of always in the MVP odds. He is Pat Mahomes, but he was, I believe, fourth in the league in passing yards this year. And I know it's kind of a reduced passing yards league, especially how good defenses are. But this is a guy who is really finding it, but it's also a guy whose best weapon is probably retiring next year. And this team doesn't have a Tyreek Hill. Rashee Rice kind of has the speed and the big playability to fill that. Who could have filled that role just hasn't manifested. This team is very one-dimensional. 13 lowest yards per game in terms of rushing, and they also don't force turnovers. This is a team with Steve Spagnuolo, who's kind of always been revered for their defense. Chris Jones leading that, with Trent McDuffie being there in the past, a lot of studs, and they're the fourth lowest team in forcing turnovers. And if you're one dimensional on offense and you're not forcing turnovers, really going to be hard to beat anybody. And you've got the coaching of Andy Reid, that like the pairing of Reid and Mahomes always feel like you're going to be put in the game. And like we said a few weeks ago, they're not a ton different from the stats that they had last year, where they had only, I think it ended up only losing 2 or 3 games on the season. It's just that one crazy, you don't, that block they had against Denver last year, crazy things like that is kind of what kept them on the up and up when it comes to the score. And when that stuff doesn't go your way and you have to deal with what's surrounding you, it's not going to be easy to win, especially in this league. You got to have some explosion. They just don't. They got great coaching, great quarterback play. I mean, that's just a defense who doesn't make big plays and a team that can't run the ball. And if you can't impose your will, grind out a clock to seal a game, it's going to be tough. Now, obviously, they've had some fluky losses this year too. Kansas City, that is. I mean, they had the play where Trevor Lawrence somehow drops back to, I don't think it was to hand the ball off, falls down, doesn't get touched, stands up and runs a touchdown in. I mean, a lot of crazy stuff has happened to them, but it's it's going to be weird seeing a playoff without Pat Mahomes in it. Rumor, it seems like the NFL, with advanced medicine, that ACL injury is probably about 10, 9, 10 months now. So could see him back week 1. I just want to see him back healthy. I obviously never wish bad on a player, but I think that they've got to make some real improvements. They've got to make some improvements on the offensive line. Got to get some explosion. And Kelsey's probably going next year, if I had to guess. So I don't want to. I kind of. I mean, like everybody else, I don't really love Kansas City per se, but I can admit when they are in playoff contention, more eyes on the game, more people watching. Every game means a little more. I mean, even regular season games is, the Chiefs are in town, and I don't think that's going to go anywhere. But who knows? I could take a little shakeup personnel wise. I don't think Reid goes anywhere. Who hasn't had really a great year coaching is one of the all time great coaches. Who I'm glad finally won a Super Bowl, because I always thought he was a fantastic coach, but not really his best coaching job this year. A lot of questionable decisions, and this team who just doesn't look as well prepared as we've gotten accustomed to. But with that, the Chargers are. Let me pull this up. If the Broncos weren't losing their minds, likely are in that number 1 spot. But they're 10-4, and per NFL.com, they're pretty much a lock for the playoffs. If they were to win, if they win this week against Dallas, 99% more, greater than a 99% chance. But even if they lose, they have a 90% chance. So got themselves in a good position. But unfortunately, kind of the story of this game is for one Patrick Mahomes and his injury. So speedy recovery to him. But yeah, no Chiefs this year. So arguably the game of the weekend next in Buffalo and New England. So this was a great way to start the Sunday. It was, I had my girlfriend, her parents came over to help us with some things. Had the house all cleaned, got all the Christmas decorations up, all that good stuff. Like a man, I'm outside grilling in the cold, sub 35-degree weather. I'm out there whipping the burgers around. There's just something to me. I don't know how you feel, man, or anybody who grills. Something about grilling in the cold. It's just so satisfying to me. I can't explain it. Got your brewski, and got some hamburgers, hot dogs, all that good stuff. And it was like, man, this is what NFL Sunday is all about, especially a game like this. But it gets off to a fast start, and the Bills go up, or excuse me, the Patriots go up 21-0. Dave Portnoy's losing his mind. I'm sure Bill Simmons is probably losing his mind internally. Didn't verbalize it on social media, but I mean, this is a team who was, who went on like a huge 7-8 game win streak, and has one of the MVP favorites in Drake May playing really well. But when you've got 17 on that other sideline, you've got to be able to keep throwing punches, because if he gets rolling in that offense, it's going to be tough. So Patriots go up 21-0. Bills have 2 3 and outs. And then, but the third possession, a little longer than just 3 plays, but it ends in a punt. So 3 straight punts. And then the Bills just lose their mind. Their next 5 possessions, they scored touchdowns. And it scored the only one, I think it was a punt at the end of the game. And when they finally took the lead, Trayvon Henderson scores I think it was like a 65-yard touchdown. And it seems like, okay, they withstood the blow. The Patriots withstood the blow. It's kind of like that Georgia game. Um, Actually, no, it's not similar. I'm not going to bring that up. But it's like, okay, no, they answered the call. And that's the thing is when you're down that much, your margin for error is so much lower. You can't let anything good happen. And it kind of seemed like, oh, they could take the win out of sales. You still got 17. And James Cook also has a huge day. 3 total touchdowns, over 100 yards on the ground. He's a walking touchdown. That dude is a free touchdown anytime it happens. So yeah, and then it ends up, and I believe while the Bills go 5 for 5 on their possessions in the second half, Patriots had the ball 5 times, only scored once, and when you got an offense that's rolling the way the Bills do, with a guy like Allen and a guy like Cook in the backfield, you gotta kill them while they're down. And it seemed like maybe you did, but then Josh Allen leads another drive down the field. Buffalo, and I know Mike Vrabel had some words to say about the calling, but New England has 7 penalties. The Bills have 2. It'll be tough to win in a game like that. The Bills go 8 for 14 on fourth down or on third down. And then you consider they had 2 straight drives to open up, no third down. And then so you got in your first 3 drives, you lose third downs right there. So that's what? So if you're not including those, they're 8 for 11, just for sake of conversation. So they found it, and when they got rolling, they got rolling. And this is a team that was again 17's on the field, Superman as they call him. You got to kill them while they're down. If you don't, it's going to happen. Something I noticed New England. I think they are bottom 5 in takeaways on the year. So when you've got a lead like that, your defense has got to start making big plays. And if you don't, and you let 17 and 4 James Cook get rolling, it's going to be a tough recipe for a win. And we've been talking about it all year. The thing is, Buffalo can still win it seems like it's been the Patriots division. Buffalo can still win the East. And the rest of their schedule, I'm going to get it pulled up right here, is the next 3 weeks. They've got, I feel like Baltimore is one of, no, they played that to start the season. They've got the Browns next week, which for everybody but the Packers, I get, because the Packers one of the teams that lost to them. That's pretty much a free dub. Another one, you got the Jets, and then in between those games, you've got the Eagles. So the Eagles obviously going to be a very tough game, but it's very doable. And then the Patriots obviously kind of have they are strength of schedule emergence. That's what we've been saying all year. But they've got the Ravens next Sunday night, which is going to be a tough one. But then you've got the Jets and the Dolphins. So their schedule gets pretty soon too. So these games this weekend probably going to determine who wins the NFC East, AFC East. But we've been saying, I think the Patriots are going to lose their first playoff game. I think it's going to happen. I think they've been floating by on the easiest schedule in the league. Now, granted, like we've say all the time, it's the NFL. Every team's good. Everybody can win. But when your schedule looks like the top 10 draft order, I mean, it definitely does you a favor. And we haven't seen Drake May in a playoff situation, so it's not fair to take it away from him per se, but it's fair to question it. So I am I'm really excited to see how that division plays out. When Graham said it earlier in our show that Patriots with their schedule really could win the East, I was like, it is kind of crazy. But once you start seeing it and it happens, hey, I don't know. I think Buffalo's going to end up winning the East. Actually, I take that back. I think because of their schedule again being so deplorable, I think the Pats are going to win. I think these two teams meet in the playoffs and Buffalo knocks them out. So we'll see. Next big game, the Green Bay Packers at the Denver Broncos. Broncos are smoldering hot right now. 12-2 on the year. That's right. 12-2, right? I wrote that down, so I do hope that's right. Yeah, 12-2 on the year, have won 11 in a row. Start out the season 1-2, and then just absolutely unload on everybody. This is a team whose defense is probably the best in the league, most sacks. You got the best corner in quite a while, and Pat Surtain. Nick Benito's losing his mind, and they have the most sacks in the league. So this is a team where you're gonna have to play your best offensive game to win, and clearly a lot of teams have it. And that's what makes me feel good about this Broncos team is anytime that you have somebody who's playing good defensively, it, good is not the right word, playing elite defensively, you're always going to have a swinger's chance. It's what we've seen happen with the Texans. Um, Anytime you have that going on, you're gonna have to play your best game. And when you play against Jordan Love and a defense playing like this, you might be able to make some good things happen. Uh, didn't think that I'd say that Bo Nix would have a better game than Jordan Love this year, but I mean that's exactly what happened. Bo Nix made big play after big play, looked in control the whole time against a very good Packers defense, who where's this thing? Here we go. So 276 yards for Love, pretty good yard total for the NFL average, but 24 of 40, two untimely picks. And again, just never really able to get in the rhythm, establish control of the game. When Bo Nix was 23 of 34, four touchdowns, no picks, 302 yards. If they get that Bo Nix, this team is going to go on a playoff run. I don't know if they're going to make the Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl. They're going to win playoff games. Promise you that. And they were actually the first team. Excuse me. They were the first team this year, depending on whichever of the 4 o'clock games finished, to seal up a playoff spot. They were the only team to finally clinch a playoff spot. They're 12-2, running the division right now, running the league, and honestly, it's a great time to be a Denver sports fan. You've got them 12-2. Nuggets are second in the Western Conference. Avalanche have the best record in hockey. Shout out to the Mile High City. But another one of the big stories from this game is Micah Parsons going down at the end of the third quarter. And this is a team who was struggling to get pressure all game. They didn't have a single sack. And one of the best pass rushers in the league goes down. It was real bad. It looked like he kind of put his foot in the ground. And I don't know if it's kind of got stuck, but you saw him kind of throw his knee in the air and fall down. And it's just not good. Like Mahomes, another huge star in this league. League's better when he's here. And him being, done for the year hurts the Packers' chances of making a run in the playoffs, as well as, this team just being one of the best in the league. This is another one whose defense comes out. You got to play one of your best offensive games, which Bo Nix did. But Green Bay, that's a awful situation, especially. It always sucks to lose a player, but we can't ignore the fact that this is arguably their best player that they're losing. So this team's going to have to be resilient defensively. A unit that's got a lot of talented guys, but the grind doesn't slow down. I mean, this is a tough ending to the schedule. You've got for the Packers, you got the Bears coming this week, you got the Ravens after, and then you got the Vikings. The Vikings are no slouches. We know that they've had some quarterback problems, but I mean they just beat the Cowboys this past week. And the Cowboys, they're doing what Cowboys have always done. Poor Cowboys fans. But the Bears is not going to be an easy win this weekend, and it's at Soldier Field. Ravens definitely not going to be an easy game. So my question is, how does this? I think Jordan Love, for one thing, he can't be just serviceable. He's got to, and honestly, the rep he's been getting this year is kind of unfair. The numbers are a lot better than what your eyes suggest, if that makes any sense. But I mean, you see him play Detroit, who's way more banged up offensively, and that's not a fair comparison, especially because of the difference in defenses. But control is in control. And that's for me when I watch a quarterback, that's like the main thing. I'm not saying it's the best metric, but what the quarterback that's in control to me is kind of the one who, ultimately typically is going to win the game. And you're not winning despite him, you're winning because of him. I think I want to see more performances like that from Jordan Love, who, a lot of people we're touting as being a top 5 guy this year, and it's just not been anywhere near that. Um, the lack of consistency is pretty frustrating from him. But the Broncos ultimately, they're rolling. They got the Chiefs on Christmas Day. They now have Pat Mahomes, Gardner Minshew led Chiefs. My buddy Austin, I know he's listening. He's probably already ordered a Gardner Minshew jersey for the Chiefs. So I hope you get that in Sporter Proud, Brody. But yeah, so great game though. I mean, this is one that came down to the final possession of the game, and it's just again, they just weren't able to make enough plays, which I will say, I mean, scoring 26 on this Denver defense is a big deal. So, you keep yourself in it, but, just that lack of being special on offense, kind of what, ends up being kind of the Achilles heel, if you will, here. So, um, on to next after this water break. All right. Sorry about that. So after that, we had at the same time another team who locked up a playoff spot. The Los Angeles Ram beat the Detroit Lions 41-34. Matt Stafford kind of, I think, is cementing himself to be MVP. Throws for 368 yards. Golf also throws for 338 yards. I mean, this is a game that came down to, tying it up the last second. Lions had the ball with 13 seconds left, not really a ton. Rams do a great way of bleeding the clock down from, I think they burned it down, 2 or 3 minutes and left it basically with no time for Detroit. It would take the miracle of all miracles for that to happen. But this is a fun game because it was just big play after big play. And if you're a football fan, some people like super low scoring games. Some people like a lot of defense. Some people like a lot of points. This game kind of had a little bit of it all. Obviously, 41-34 is a pretty high score. But I mean, there were, defenses, made big plays in this game, but the offense just made more. And these are two teams that are, I don't know if they live and die by it per se. Maybe more so the Lions. I mean, this is a team that is a home run hitting team. They will, you know, ding, ding, ding. Oh, next thing you know, Jameson Williams is just scored a 60-yard touchdown. I heard something crazy. I don't know how true this is, but apparently Jameson Williams has an average of scoring touchdowns, average yard per touchdown, like 38 yards. Like we always talked about, lightning in a bottle. He scores a touchdown in this game, but ASB, Amon St. Brown, Amon Ra, I always do his name wrong, has 13 catches, 2 tuds, 164 yards. So huge day for him. The one person they needed a huge day from, they didn't really get it. Jameer Gibbs only had 38 yards rushing. Team only had 70. As a comparison, Kyron Williams himself had 78, and he also had 2 touchdowns. So if you're playing this team, this Rams team, and you're one dimensional, it's going to be a tough one for you to win. That's truthfully what it ended up being. Rams almost have 10 more first downs, put up over 500 yards of offense. I mean, I don't know what it is about the attrition on this Detroit defense the past few years, but it's been so unfortunate. I really hate that for him. But I mean, it ends up, you know, kind of being what's potentially costing you your season. I mean, Detroit, we know the past few years has been a team that's been in the playoff push, and after seeing them be, horrible for so many years, been a really fun team to rally and get behind. But attrition has really played a factor in them. I mean, was it the I can't remember if it was I think the game last year. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson was out. They had 12 guys injured against that Washington team. Yeah, Washington beat them in the playoffs last year. So I mean, it's just been really brutal for them. Didn't really have a good game on third down. You go 5 of 14, and the Rams have 2nd and 9, or you could go for 2 for 9 here. And I don't know what the scoreboard might tell you, but I mean, in the third quarter, the Rams are down because it's I believe the third quarter started. Yeah, here it is. When the third quarter starts, Lions are up 24-17. They oh man, this is maybe the game where they get back in it, kind of really submit themselves in the playoffs. And kind of like we were talking about earlier, with the Bills and Allen, you've got to kill these guys. Matt Stafford, you got to kill these guys. When they're down, you can't let them get back in it because you got people who are going to make plays. Puka Nakua, who has been probably the most productive receiver in the league since he's really got going, has a huge game, almost 200 yards, 9 catches. I believe it was 181 yards officially. Devontae Adams goes out early. I don't think it was early actually. I think it was maybe in the fourth quarter. He's got a hamstring. It seems that he's going to be doubtful for the Seattle game this week with them, and they need him a lot. But this game honestly just felt like a case of best man win, and made the best man win, made the best punch knock the fighter out, and the final punch was thrown by the Rams. And this is a team that if you want to go punch for punch with, they can do it. Assuming Adams gets healthy, with the combination of him and Nakua is ridiculous. Matt Stafford is playing the best quarterback in the best quarterback in the league this year. Uh, he's probably going to win MVP, which I'm going to go over the odds for that here in just a second. But and they with that win, they seal a playoff division or a playoff spot in the toughest division in the sport this year, bar none. As the Rams, excuse me, as the Niners and Seahawks are probably both going to make the playoffs. Detroit, their window for the playoffs this year is slipping because they've got. So if they were to lose this week against the Steelers, they have a 15% chance of making the playoffs. And then after that, you've got the Vikings and the Bears. That is a brutal 3-game stretch in the season on Steelers, Vikings, Bears. So I don't know if it's how the math all adds up. I don't know if they got to be perfect per se, but they've got to get it figured out. I mean, ultimately, they pretty much ice it and put themselves in the playoffs if they win this out. But it's the NFL. Crazy stuff happens. So it sucks that their defensive injuries have kind of been what's really put them in the spot. But again, this is an offense that when they get rolling, two of the most explosive players in the league, in Gibbs and Jamison Williams, when they get rolling, they're hard to stop and they're fun to watch, which I care more about the fun to watch part. But it would be a pretty big travesty if they were not in the playoffs this year. So hoping they get it figured out. But the Rams right now is just, I think these guys are going to win the Super Bowl. I really do. And if they don't, I think they're definitely going to it. So some other things to hit on. Philip Rivers played football this week. And this is 2025. I mean, this is a guy who hadn't played a game. I think this is 2021. And remember, drafted the same year as Eli Manning, over 20 years ago. I'm really going to be impressed. I was listening to Matt Ryan talk about how he was throwing with Matt Stafford after Ryan retired, and Matt Stafford was like, "Hey, I need you to work me. Pause. I need you to work me out. Want to throw a little bit X, Y, and Z." Matt Ryan's like, "Hey, let me do it." So he goes through his real intense throwing routine just to kind of see how it felt. Said his oblique was killing him. His arm was like hanging. He was just absolutely brutalized. So testament to Philip Rivers for being able to withstand that and play this week. But while it was cool to see him, throw a touchdown and really kind of get back in the swing of things, you could tell he has a lot of veteran savvy, but it's just, man, it was tough watching. It was kind of like watching a one-leg dog in a dog fight, like clearly at a disadvantage. And it's crazy because in that game, they're leading with under a minute. And then Seattle drives down the field and hits a game-winning field goal. I mean, it was just, the most unfortunate turn of circumstances. But yeah, Philip Rivers played a football game this week. And the Colts, really interesting with them because they started out 8-2. After that Falcons win, this is their 4th loss in a row. And I was looking at it earlier. I thought I had it written down, but clearly I was ill prepared. Their last 3 games, I'm pretty sure Houston's in here. Yeah. Oh, this is pretty bad. So you got the Niners on Monday night. After that, you got the Jags, your division leader, and the Texans, who are probably the best defense in football right now. And honestly, I think they're going to lose all those games. I really hate it that Daniel Jones tried to be, was doing his best to be the Iron Man, play through pain, and fractures his fibula, and then ruptures. I don't know if it was a rupture, but hurts his Achilles, done for the year. Anthony Richardson on IR, so they have to resort to Philip Rivers. How bad is Riley Leonard? we have to resort to Philip Rivers. Apparently, Derek Carr turned it down. Maybe we reached out to Sam Ellinger too. Mr. Longhorn Nation, we're back, and that just didn't work out. So yeah, really, I don't really know how to feel about the situation there. It sucks because if you're a Colts fan, you're thinking, man, we were so good, and then after that, because it looked like they were going to beat the Chiefs a couple weeks ago, and then the Chiefs stormed back, end up winning that one after they're pretty stifled. The Colts are stifled in the second half. So enough for that's a summary of the games this past week. Another water break. Okay, so looking here at the MVP odds. So the leader, Matt Ryan, minus 260, or I said Matt Ryan, Matt Stafford, minus 260, the clear favorite right now. And I think he should win it. Um, plus 380, Drake May in third place, or second place. And in third place, plus 600, Josh Allen. So those are kind of the three guys. The next ones are like Bo Nix, Sam Darnold, and Justin Herbert, and they're all plus 10,000 odds to win. So likely not going to. So this three is kind of the big ones. I think after Josh Allen's performance last week, he's got to be number two on this list. And if he wills them to winning the East, I think you could really see him win it again. And I think he's been more. Oh, I don't want to say been more important, but maybe a tougher job this year he's had as opposed to last year. But we're really seeing that Superman come out. I mean, he's really. I know he's had some games where it's kind of look weird, like who is this guy? But he's had a really good season. So I've been really impressed with him. But Matt Stafford, I mean, you look at the numbers are just stupid on the year. Let me see if I can find them. NFL. You think you're prepared for this stuff, and then you accidentally exit tab out, and here we are. So look at NFL passing leaders. I appreciate you guys tuning in the awkward silence. He is second behind Dak in yards per game, but leads the league in touchdowns and only has 5 picks, 37 touchdowns and 5 picks. As a comparison, just in that number, Josh Allen has 25 touchdowns to 10 picks. So, I mean, if you're looking at the numbers there, Matt Stafford is by and far the leader. But, I mean, if you looked at it last year, Lamar was clearly the leader in those stats, and Josh Allen ends up winning. So who knows what happens there? I don't want to discount Drake May because he has been really good this year, but I think that that this game the past weekend between those two, the Bills and the Pats, kind of showed that there's levels to this MVP thing, and Josh Allen is just at another level. Graham said it after the first game of the year. This is a guy who's a football maestro, Josh Allen. So I really think that he's going to end up winning. Matt Stafford is going to end up winning it, but Josh Allen's going to make a late push. That one voter gets in there who really loves Allen. A lot of these guys love Allen, and he's fantastic. He deserves every bit of it. But who knows how it's going to end up going. So, okay. Last, I want to look at these 5 teams that I'm going to name real quick, and then we're going to pick some games, and we'll get out of here. So, appreciate everybody tuning in, listening to my stale-minded voice this whole game, or this whole episode. Let's get on to the next one. So, these are my 5 teams I don't want to play if I'm a team right now. When I say don't want to play, I'm not saying these are the 5 best. Some of these may fall in that category, but it's teams that I don't want to play heading into the playoffs. Some of these teams I'm going to leave off. You may be like, what's going on with this guy? I've probably got rationale for it. So, number 1 is the Rams. My pick to win the Super Bowl. They're absolutely, kind of the standard of football right now. Elite players, elite coaching, and they're rolling. We've talked about them enough in the past few minutes. So, like that one is kind of self-explanatory. Number 2, the Texans. I know what people are thinking, why not the Broncos? They elite defense. I think getting hot at the right time helps you more than being hot the whole season. And because I mean that flame seems like it's going to burn out typically quicker. I think the Broncos. If you're asking me, hey, what's going on? What's the ceiling there? What's going to be the difference? I trust CJ Stroud over Bo Nix. So I know Stroud has had his struggles since that really good rookie year. But with this defense, he's got such a low margin for error, just like Bo Nix. But I trust Bo Nix more. Or excuse me, I trust CJ Stroud more. And these guys, while the Broncos are obviously elite defensively, there's something about watching the way that Houston team flies to the football consistently that is just fun to watch and is infectious and feeds into other games. This team very well could still end up winning their division. I think they play. Let me get their schedule out. So right now they're the 7th team in the playoff. Um, so right the playoffs ended, they finished 9-5. And sorry, my thing is loading. And the rest of their schedule, I believe Jacksonville's in it. Let me see. Oh no, it's not. They got the Colts, or they got the Raiders this weekend. It's kind of free money for them, especially with how atrocious the offense is for uh, the Raiders. And they got the Chargers after that, and the Colts after. So doesn't get super easy per se, but this team it's a bad time to catch them. Promise you that. Number 3, the Buffalo Bills. But Joey, the Pats and the Broncos have better records than them. 17. I think 17 has more of an impact on making a playoff run than those two teams do with their Drake May led defense or Drake May led offense in New England, the elite defense in Denver. I don't like if I'm a team and I see how he's finding things, the Bills are getting back in their order. They're trying to make a run to win the East. That's a team I don't want to get in front of. And I know Allen obviously hasn't made it to Super Bowl. Josh Allen, you are probably potentially going to go into the only Super Bowl or playoff of your career potentially without Lamar Jackson, John, Joe Burrow, and Pat Mahomes. I mean, you guys are the 4 best quarterbacks in the league, and this is probably the only time for the rest of your, at least competitive part of your career where you're going to be in a playoff without those 3. If not this year, when? And I know obviously there's more into it than quarterbacks, but those 3 quarterbacks, they win games despite how bad things are going on around them, just like Josh Allen does. And you've got those 3 guys out of there. I mean, you're looking at a chance where the quarterbacks you're going to be playing in the playoff are any of the following: Bo Nix, Drake May, Trevor Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert, or CJ Stroud. Drake May is probably, is definitely the best of those guys this year. But those 3 guys that I named earlier, those are the best. And they're not here for you. If not now, Josh, when? I know there's more into it, but clearly he finds ways to win. And this has got to be the time for him. Number 4, the Eagles. But Joey, they've been terrible this year. What are you talking about? They've been pretty underwhelming. I agree with that. There's been a lot of crazy stuff, but I feel like if this team, if they could get to the playoffs and realize, hey, we are the Eagles, we're more talented than anybody, and that offense can get rolling, they're going to give the Rams problems. I really think they are. But I mean, just they're in a point. So really, they've got a better chance of making the playoffs than Chicago right now, which is crazy, just based on the NFL.com percentages. And of course, that doesn't help that their division is pretty much all but eliminated, with the exception of the Cowboys, who are probably right on the brink of that. And you look at it, you probably think, but Joey, Bears are 10-4. They beat the Eagles. Eagles are 9-5. This Bears team, much, 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 much improved. They hammered the Eagles. I get that, but this is a team for most of the time that's gone by the skin of their teeth. Won most of their games to start the season in the last 2 minutes of the game, and that's not a sustainable recipe unless you've got an elite quarterback. But you've got an elite talent right now. Caleb Williams is not an elite quarterback. I think he's going to figure himself out when he's able to. Again, I was telling some people earlier, his inability to consistently play in rhythm within the confines of the game worries me. It's kind of what worries me about Jaden Daniels too. They are able to, and I'm not going to make this about Jaden Daniels, but Caleb Williams, his overwhelming talent and athleticism allows him to make plays that shouldn't be made, and that's not always going to happen. And when it doesn't, the sky comes crumbling, and I think that's something that's going to happen to them. And my number 5 team to round it out are the Seahawks. Um, you can very well say the Seahawks are the second best team, maybe first best team in the league if you wanted to this year. Um, and they're going to have a chance, especially if with Adams probably not playing, to really solidify themselves in the West tomorrow. Um, very well could be on the way to that. This team, as I watch, the Falcon. Of course, it's funny to say that about my own team, how the Falcons are not a barometer of necessarily how good you are. But this is a team who was tied with them and then dropped 30 points in the second half, made big play after big play. Sam Darnold, it's going to be another question of him. If he's able to get out of that mind of holding on to the ball too long, not making the play that's there, if he's able to get out of that, these guys really can beat anybody. I mean, JSN's probably going to win Offensive Player of the Year. He's been the best receiver in this league, bar none. I think he leads the next closest guy in receiving yards by like 300, 400 yards. So he's losing his mind. But also, not an easy end of the schedule for them. I think if they could get through this stretch that I'm about to name with 2 wins, it's going to be scary to face them in the playoffs. Rams this weekend, or on Thursday, excuse me. Panthers next weekend, and then end the season with the 49ers, who are also likely going to be in the. Those are 3 teams who are probably going to be in the playoffs, and are still in the hunt regardless. And when you're playing any team like that, it's gonna be tough to win. Or it's gonna be tough to just skate by. More so, what I mean. So, those are my 5 teams. Argue and comment at me on everything because some of those are probably crazy, but we'll see. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up by picking. God, so sad. We got 3 more weeks of NFL football starting tomorrow, guys. Oh, that's not true because it plays the postseason, but the regular season is drawing near its end. We are heading into what week is it? Week 16? Yeah, we're heading into week 16. Got another loaded game. Hopefully, if it can be half as good as last week, we're in good shape. Another sponsored water break. Okay, so we're going to go through each game one by one, and we'll just kind of give my winner, and then we'll get you out of here. All right, so starting off this week, LA at Seattle. So, like I said, probably no Devontae Adams for this game, and I don't I don't know the numbers on when he's not playing, but obviously losing a guy like him is going to be tough. So I'm going to take Seattle this week, and I think they're really going to make a push towards the West. I don't know if they're going to if they win this. I think the winner of this game wins the West. Is what's ultimately going to happen. I still think the Rams are going to win the Super Bowl, but this team is going to win the West. So they're probably not going to get that playoff bye. But honestly, a Rams team that has to play one more playoff game and get more fired up, more power to them. Saturday night, same time as college football playoff. If you got YouTube TV, have your multi-view on. If you're not sitting at home, or if you want to go watch a game, go sit at a bar, go to Buffalo Wild Wings, Taco Mac, whatever. Watch a lot of games on because there's gonna be so much football on this day. We're really spoiled. Um, Packers at Bears at 8:20 Saturday night on Fox. Um, Chicago 1.5 point favorite as a home team, and I want to know how this defense is going to respond without Parsons. Last time these 2 teams played, the Packers won. I think they're going to split the series. Chicago's going to win this week. So on to our first game. See what the matchups. Obviously, the stakes are the stakes, but the matchups not quite as loaded this week. Chargers at Dallas. Dallas is 2.5 point favorite. Um, they're fighting for every scrap of playoff position they can get. They pretty much have to win out to make the playoffs. I think they have less than a 1% chance of making the playoffs if they lose. And they're going to get knocked out this week by the Chargers. Next, we've got Minnesota at New. No, sorry, not that one. Tampa, Carolina. This one's probably going to determine the South, the NFC South. Tampa's a -3 favorite on the road, and on paper, they're much better than this Panthers team. But this Panthers team has rallied, found themselves, played really well, established some key offensive weapons, and Rico Dowdle. I mean, Ted McMillan has had a huge rookie year, maybe offensive rookie of the year. Um, I'm just thinking off the top of my head. It was somebody we weren't super huge on, but has had a really good season. And I think Carolina's going to win. And I don't know what would make me happier, Carolina missing the playoffs or Tampa collapsing. I would really enjoy seeing those all. But either way, so yeah, give me Carolina. Next game, Jacksonville at Denver. Denver is a field goal favorite in this game. I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is going to have the game it takes to beat this Denver defense. I really don't. He was fantastic last week, but who isn't fantastic against the Jets, you know? And I think that's going to be a trend that stays with the Jets, unfortunately, for the rest of the year. But Denver is going to win their 12th game in a row against the Jaguars. Next game, my Falcons at Arizona. Falcons are a 3-point favorite as well. Um, mm, I don't know if you want to go to this game and you're in Arizona. Only $14. Um, maybe actually more of a hassle getting down there than that's worth. But Falcons are going to win this week again, get on a 2-game win streak, and probably save Raheem Morris's job, unfortunately. And then what do we have next? Pittsburgh at Detroit, 4:30 on Sunday. Kind of a must-win team for both games. Wow, cannot talk. Must-win game for both teams. Detroit's a touchdown favorite, and I think they're going to win by more than a touchdown. All right, we got two primetime games. New England at Baltimore. Baltimore are 3.5 point or excuse me, also field goal favorite at home. Pats are fraudulent schedule merchants, and they're going to get beat this weekend. Give me Baltimore, who is also trying to make a playoff push, because I think Detroit's going to win, and you're going to see and beat Pittsburgh, and then Baltimore is going to win, and we're going to have a tie heading into the last few weeks in the North. Very exciting, very very exciting. We're going to round the week out with San Francisco at Indianapolis. I don't really know what their quarterback situation. I assume Philip Rivers is going to play again, um, and that's not going to beat the San Francisco team. So that's going to be it, guys. Well, appreciate everybody tuning in. Again, we'll be back next week. Um, follow us on Apple Music and Spotify, whichever is your preferred. And thanks for the long haul. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.